The year was 2347. Humans had spread across 12 worlds. They built cities on distant planets. They traded with alien species. They lived in peace. The galaxy thought humans were weak. They were small. They were quiet. They did not fight wars with other species. The great empires looked at humanity and saw nothing special. Just another young race trying to survive among the stars. They were wrong. Admiral Park Doan stood on the command deck of Earth's orbital station. He was 58 years old. His hair was gray and his face was tired. He had spent 30 years in the Terran Defense Fleet. He had never fired a weapon at another species. He hoped he never would. The morning was quiet. Earth turned slowly below him, blue and green and beautiful. Park sipped his coffee and watched the sunrise spread across Asia. Then the alarm started screaming. Lieutenant Yunhana ran to her station. She was young, only 26, but she was the best tactical officer in the fleet. Her fingers flew across her console. Her face went pale. "Admiral," she said. Her voice was shaking. "We have incoming. Multiple contacts. They are not ours." Park put down his coffee. "How many?" Hannah checked her screen 3 times. She could not believe what she was seeing. "Over 2,000 ships, sir. They are attacking our colonies." The Velen Dominion had come. They were a coalition of 3 alien empires. They controlled a quarter of the galaxy. They had decided that humanity was growing too fast. Humans were building too many colonies, taking too much space. The Dominion did not warn them. They did not ask them to stop. They simply attacked. 7 human worlds burned that day. Park watched the reports come in. New Sol was hit first. Plasma bombs fell from the sky like rain. The planetary shield held for 11 minutes. Then it failed. The capital city was gone in seconds. 800 million people lived on New Sol. The attack lasted 2 hours. Prometheus was next. Then Avalon. Then Eden Prime. The enemy ships did not land soldiers. They did not try to capture anything. They just bombed and bombed and bombed until nothing was left. Park's hands were shaking. He had trained for war his whole life. But this was not war. This was murder. "Sir," Hannah said quietly, "New Sol is not responding anymore." Park closed his eyes. His daughter lived on New Sol. Her name was Hemin. She was a teacher. She taught children how to read. He would never see her again. Earth survived because of its defense grid. Ancient weapons from the old wars, buried in the moon and in orbit. They activated automatically when the attack came. The Dominion lost 200 ships trying to reach Earth. They pulled back, but the colonies had no such protection. When the attack ended, 3 billion humans were dead. 3 billion. The number was too big to understand. It was more people than had existed on Earth 500 years ago. Gone in 6 hours, the galaxy watched. They expected humanity to surrender. Every other species had surrendered when the Dominion attacked them. That was how it worked. The strong crushed the weak. The weak accepted their place. But humans were different. On Mars, Dr. Kang Junsu sat in his underground laboratory. He was a scientist who studied human history. He knew things that most people had forgotten. He knew what humans had done to each other in the dark centuries before space travel. His computer showed him the death toll. His hands were steady as he typed in a code that had not been used in 250 years. 3 files appeared on his screen. Project Fenrir, Project Prometheus, Project Lazarus. These were the weapons humanity had created during its last great war. Weapons so terrible that humans had agreed to never use them again. They had sealed them away. They had promised to be better. The promise was over now. Cam picked up his communicator and called Admiral Park. "Admiral," he said, "I am sending you something." We buried these programs after the Unification War. We thought we would never need them again. Park looked at the files. His eyes went wide. Doctor, these weapons. We swore we would never. They killed 3 billion of us, Kang said. They killed them while they slept, while they ate breakfast, while children walked to school. They did not give us a choice. Park was silent for a long time. Outside his window, Earth was burning in 100 places. Debris from destroyed ships fell through the atmosphere like shooting stars. Send me everything, he finally said. That night, every human world received the same broadcast. It came from Earth, from Mars, from the hidden stations in the asteroid belt. It played on every screen, every speaker, every device. The voice was Admiral Park's. He spoke only one sentence. They have awoken the wrong species. The Dominion intercepted the message. Their commanders laughed. What could humans do? They were broken. They were dying. They had no fleet, no weapons, no hope. But deep in the vaults beneath Mars, machines that had slept for centuries began to wake up. In hidden shipyards scattered across the solar system, lights turned on for the first time in generations. Engineers and soldiers who had trained in secret their whole lives received one word: begin. Humanity had always known this day might come. They had prepared. They had hidden their true power behind a mask of peace. Now, the mask was coming off, and the galaxy would learn why humans were the only species to ever nearly destroy themselves. Not because they were weak, but because they were the most dangerous thing the universe had ever created. The war had just begun. 3 months had passed as the sky burned. The Velen Dominion occupied 4 human colony worlds. Their soldiers walked through empty cities. Their ships patrolled dead skies. They thought the hard work was done. They were wrong. Captain Beak Myre stood on the bridge of her ship, the Ghost of Bizon. It was not like other ships. It did not appear on any scanner. It made no sound. It left no trail. The Dominion did not know it existed. Myre was 42 years old. She had served in the Black Fleet for 20 years. The Black Fleet was humanity's secret. Ships and soldiers that trained in the darkness between stars, waiting for a day that everyone hoped would never come. That day had come. Captain, her navigator said, we are in position above Prometheus. Myre looked at the planet below. Once it had been green and alive. Now it was gray and silent. The Dominion had bombed it until nothing grew. 200 Dominion ships orbited the dead world. 50,000 soldiers occupied what was left of the cities. They were building bases, making Prometheus their own. Myre smiled. It was not a kind smile. Begin, she said. On Earth, General O'Taiwan watched the operation through his command screen. He was a big man with a scarred face. He had survived the bombing of Avalon. He had crawled out of the ruins with broken legs and burned skin. He had watched his soldiers die around him. Now he was going to watch the Dominion learn what a mistake they had made. All ships report. Ready, his aide said. The Black Fleet had 30 ships surrounding Prometheus. 30 ships against 200. But these were not normal ships. The Ghost of Bizon fired first. The weapon made no light. It made no sound. One moment the Dominion cruiser was there. The next moment it was gone. Not destroyed. Just gone. As if it had never existed. The Dominion commanders panicked. Their sensors showed nothing. No weapons fire. No missiles. No energy beams. Their ships were simply vanishing. In 10 minutes, the battle was over. 200 Dominion ships. 50,000 soldiers. Gone. But they were not dead. 3 days later, Dominion reinforcements arrived at Prometheus. They expected to find wreckage. They expected to find bodies. They found nothing but empty space and a single message. Beacon. The beacon gave them coordinates. They followed the coordinates to a dead moon in a nearby system. There they found their missing fleet. The ships were intact. The soldiers were alive. But every weapon, every computer, every piece of technology had been stripped away. The soldiers sat on the cold gray surface in nothing but their uniforms, breathing from emergency tanks down above them. Carved into the lunar surface in letters 5 kilometers tall was a message. This was mercy. There will be nitrogen monoxide, second warning. Back on Earth. Jiang Soying read about the operation in the news. She was 31 years old. She had been an engineer on New Seoul. She had designed water systems for the colony cities. Her husband and 2 children had died in the first bombing. She had escaped because she was visiting Earth for a conference. She had watched her world burn from a ship's window. She had screamed until her voice was gone. Now she sat in a recruitment office. "I want to help," she told the officer behind the desk. He looked at her file. "You are an engineer, not a soldier." "Then let me build things that help soldiers." The officer nodded slowly. The military needed engineers. They needed everyone. "Welcome to the Terran Defense Force," he said. On the Dominion homeworld, the High Council met in emergency session. Their greatest admirals sat around a long table. Their faces were pale. "How is this possible?" The High Admiral demanded. "We had 200 ships. They had 30. Our forces simply vanished." An intelligence officer stepped forward. He was shaking. "We have been studying human history," he said. "We thought we knew them. We were wrong." He activated a display. Images appeared. Old images from Earth's past. "This is called World War I," he said. Humans killed 17 million of their own kind, with primitive weapons, guns and gas, and simple explosives. The admirals shifted uncomfortably. "This is World War II. 60 million dead." They created weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds. They used them on themselves. More images. Mushroom clouds. Burning cities. Mass graves. They developed biological weapons that could kill billions. Chemical weapons that made soldiers scream for death. Nuclear missiles that could end all life on their planet. The intelligence officer's voice cracked. They did all of this to themselves, to their own species. In just 1 century, the room was silent. And then, the officer continued. They stopped. They made peace. They put away their weapons. They spread to the stars as traders and farmers and builders. We thought they had become soft. We thought they had forgotten how to fight. He turned off the display. They did not forget. They chose not to fight. There's a difference. A very important difference. The High Admiral stood slowly. His face was gray. "What do we do now?" The intelligence officer had no answer. No one did. In the darkness of space, the ghost of Bison moved silently toward its next target. Captain Myray reviewed her orders. 20 more Dominion bases. 20 more lessons to teach. Humanity had hidden its claws for 300 years. They had pretended to be harmless. They had wanted to be harmless, but the Dominion had made a choice for them. Now the sleeping giant was awake, and it was very, very angry. 6 months after the first attack, humanity declared war. Not just defense. Not just survival. War. Admiral Park Do-hyun stood before the United Terran Senate. His gray hair was now white. His eyes had dark circles beneath them. He had not slept more than 4 hours a night since his daughter died on New Seoul. "The war of retribution begins today," he announced. "We did not start this fight, but we will finish it." The human fleet gathered at the edge of the solar system. 1,000 ships. Most were old and small, but among them were vessels that made no sense. Ships with strange shapes. Ships that glowed with unknown energy. Ships that the galaxy had never seen before. Commander Yunha stood beside Admiral Park on the flagship Horizon's Edge. She had been promoted twice in 6 months. Her tactical skills had saved thousands of lives. The Dominion has 700 ships defending their outer territories, she reported. They expect us to attack there first. Park nodded. Good. Let them expect that. The human fleet did not attack the outer territories. Instead, 30 ghost ships appeared in orbit around the Dominion capital world. They appeared from nowhere. One moment the sky was empty. The next moment they were there. The Dominion had 800 defense platforms around their homeworld. They had thousands of ground batteries. They had millions of soldiers. None of it mattered. The ghost ships did not fire. They did not bomb. They just hung there in the sky, silent and dark. That night, 17 of the Dominion's highest military commanders died. General Otaiwan led the operation personally. His team moved through the capital city like shadows. They passed through walls that should have been solid. They walked past guards who did not see them. They entered rooms that were supposed to be impossible to enter. Each commander was found in the morning with a note pinned to their chest. We can reach anyone, anywhere, anytime. The Dominion public panicked. Their military could not protect them. Their walls meant nothing. Their technology was useless against an enemy they could not see. But humanity was not finished. Dr. Kang Jun-soo broadcast a message to every world in the Dominion. We have weapons that can make your stars explode, he said calmly. We have devices that can stop every heart in your cities in seconds. We have systems that can predict what you will do before you do it. He paused. We are not going to use them. Not unless you force us. We do not want to destroy you. We want you to stop. We want you to pay for what you did. And we want you to never do it again. The message terrified the Dominion more than any attack could have. An enemy that wanted to destroy them. They could understand. They could fight that enemy. They could die bravely against that enemy. But an enemy that could destroy them and chose not to? That was something else entirely. That was an enemy that did not need to prove anything. An enemy that was so strong it could afford to be patient. On the colony world of Avalon, Jang Soyan worked day and night. She had designed a new defense system. It used the ruins of bombed cities as weapons. Enemy soldiers who entered the dead zones found the rubble coming alive around them. Buildings collapsed on command. Streets opened in the pits. The very ground became a trap. The Dominion sent 10,000 soldiers to retake Avalon. 300 came back. The humans fight like demons, one survivor reported. They appear from nowhere. They strike and vanish. And their machines remember everything. Every step we take. Every breath. They know where we will be before we know ourselves. Soyan watched the reports with empty eyes. Each Dominion soldier who died was justice for her children. But it did not bring them back. Nothing would bring them back. She kept building anyway. It was all she could do. The war continued for 3 more months. Humanity never attacked civilian targets. They never bombed cities. They never killed innocents. They only struck military bases, only killed soldiers, only destroyed weapons. But they did these things with terrible efficiency. Dominion fleets vanished overnight. Bases went silent. Supply lines disappeared. The third member of the Velan Dominion, a species called the Rethani, contacted Earth secretly. We want peace, their ambassador said. We did not want this war. We were forced into the coalition. Please, let us talk. Director Shin Yoonji handled the negotiations. She was the head of Terran intelligence. Her face was calm and cold. Your ships bombed New Seoul, she said. Your missiles killed 800 million people. The ambassador bowed his head. We know. We are sorry. We were afraid of the others. We did not think we had a choice. Shin studied him for a long moment. You have a choice now, she said. Make the right one. The Rithani withdrew from the war the next day. The Dominion coalition began to crack. Admiral Park watched the reports come in. The war was turning. Humanity was winning, but as he looked at the casualty lists, the destroyed ships, the broken bodies, he felt no joy. They were winning. But at what cost? And how far would they have to go before it was over? He did not know. He was not sure he wanted to know. Commander Hannah stood beside him. Sir, she said quietly. Are you all right? Park did not answer for a long time. We are becoming something, he finally said. I am not sure if it is something we should be. Hannah had no response. There was nothing to say. The war continued. 1 year after the first attack, the war reached its darkest moment. Humanity was winning. The Dominion was breaking apart. Victory was close enough to taste, but victory has a price. And sometimes the price is too high. Dr. Kang Jun-soo sat alone in his laboratory on Mars. His hands were shaking as he read the report. He read it 3 times. He hoped he was wrong. He was not wrong. A human ship had attacked the Dominion breeding world. Not a military base. Not a weapons factory. A breeding world. A place where Dominion families raised their young. The attack used a sterilization bomb. One of the forbidden weapons from humanity's dark past. It did not kill with fire or radiation. It killed by making life impossible. Every egg, every embryo, every child on that world would never be born. 300 million lives. Erased before they could begin. Kong called Commander Yoon Hana immediately. I know, she said. Her voice was hollow. We just found out. Who did this? Captain Ru Seojin. His family died on New Seoul. His wife. His 3 children. He has been different since then. Kang closed his eyes. He understood grief. He understood rage. But this is not justice, he said. This is murder. Hana flew to the flagship to confront Admiral Park. She found him standing at a window, staring at the stars. Admiral, she said, Captain Ru has committed a war crime. We need to arrest him. We need to show the galaxy that we are not monsters. Park did not turn around. I know what he did, the Admiral said quietly. I also know that the Dominion High Command sent a message this morning. They want to discuss surrender. Hana felt cold. Because of what Ru did? Because they are afraid. Because they finally believe we will do anything to win. Will we? Hana demanded. Will we become the thing we are fighting against? Park finally turned to face her. He looked old, broken. I do not know anymore. Director Shin Yoonji arrived at the flagship within hours. She brought evidence and hard truths. Ru acted alone, she reported. No orders authorized his attack. But here's the problem. If we punish him, we show weakness. If we do not punish him, we show we approve of slaughter. There is no weakness in justice, Hana said firmly. Tell that to the dead on New Seoul, Shin replied. General O Taiwan joined the debate. His scarred face was tight with anger. I crawled through the ashes of Avalon, he said. I buried soldiers with my own hands. I want the Dominion to suffer. But not like this. We cannot kill children and call ourselves the good side. Captain Beek Myray spoke next through the communication screen. Her ghost fleet was still hunting Dominion ships in deep space. Fear is our greatest weapon, she argued. If we punish Ru, we lose that fear. The Dominion will think we are soft. They will keep fighting. The argument went on for hours. Finally, Admiral Park called for Jang Soyan. She was just an engineer. She was not a commander or a politician. But she had lost everything on New Sol. She had a right to speak. Soyen entered the war room slowly. She looked at the faces around her. Soldiers, spies, leaders, all of them looking at her like she had an answer. "I lost my husband on New Sol," she said. Her voice was steady. "I lost my daughter Nari. She was 7. I lost my son Jihoon. He was 4. The room was silent. I wanted revenge. I still want revenge. Every day I wake up wanting the Dominion to feel what I felt. To lose what I lost." She paused. "But if we kill their children to avenge ours, what was the point? What were we fighting for? My children are dead. Nothing will change that. But I can choose what their deaths mean." Tears ran down her face, but her voice did not break. "I will not let their deaths turn us into monsters. I will not let their memory be used to justify murder. That is not what they would have wanted. That is not what any parent would want." The room remained silent for a long moment. Admiral Park nodded slowly. "Captain Rue will be arrested," he announced. "He will face trial. He will be judged by human law. The Dominion will see this as weakness," Shin warned. "No," Park said. "They will see what makes us different from them. They killed our children without thought, without guilt, without remorse. We will not do the same. We will hold ourselves to a higher standard, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts." The trial was broadcast across the galaxy. Captain Rue admitted his crime. He did not ask for mercy. He said he would do it again if he could. The court sentenced him to death. Admiral Park read the verdict himself. "We are not perfect," he told the galaxy. "We are capable of great evil. But we choose not to accept that evil as normal. We choose to punish those who cross the line, even our own heroes, even our own victims. This is not weakness. This is the hardest kind of strength." Rue was executed at dawn the next day. That evening, the Dominion sent a new message. They did not ask for terms this time. They surrendered completely, not because they were afraid of human weapons, not because they thought they would lose, but because they finally understood what they were fighting against: a species that could destroy them utterly, a species that chose not to, a species that punished itself for crossing lines that the Dominion had never even drawn. That was more terrifying than any bomb. That was power they could not match. 2 years after the sky burned, the war ended. The Velen Dominion signed their surrender on the deck of the Horizon's Edge. Admiral Park, Do-hyun, watched their leaders bow their heads. He felt no joy, only exhaustion. 3 billion humans had died. Millions more had been wounded, broken, changed forever. Hundreds of Dominion soldiers had died too. And 300 million unborn children on a distant world would never take their first breath. This was victory. It tasted like ashes. The peace terms shocked the galaxy. Humanity did not take Dominion territory. They did not enslave Dominion populations. They did not burn Dominion worlds the way their worlds had been burned. Instead, they demanded 3 things. First, full payment to the families of the 3 billion dead. Every family would receive enough to live without worry for the rest of their lives. The Dominion would pay this for the next 200 years. Second, the complete end of the Dominion military command. Every admiral, every general, every officer who had planned or approved the attack on human worlds would step down. They would never hold power again. Third, a seat on the Galactic Council. Humanity would have equal voice with the oldest empires, and they would have the power to stop any future war before it began. The Dominion agreed to everything. They had no choice. But more than that, they were confused. "Why do you not destroy us?" their chief negotiator asked. "You have the power. You have the right. We killed your children." Admiral Park looked at him for a long moment. Because we are tired of death, he said simply. We have seen enough. Dr. Kang Jun-soo was chosen as humanity's first ambassador to the Galactic Council. He had studied human history all his life. He understood what humanity had been, what it could be, what it must never become again. His opening speech to the council became famous across 1,000 worlds. He stood alone at the center of the Great Hall. Representatives from 100 species watched him, some with fear, some with respect, some with hatred. He spoke in a calm, quiet voice. You looked at humanity and saw a young species, small, weak, easy to crush. You looked at our short history and saw only violence, only war, only death. He paused. You missed what made us survive that violence. The hall was completely silent. We are not the species that made war. We are the species that learned to end wars. We are not the species that created weapons of mass destruction. We are the species that chose to put those weapons away. He gestured at the council members around him. Many of you have existed for thousands of years. You have never faced extinction. You have never stood at the edge of total annihilation and looked into the darkness. His voice grew stronger. We have. We looked into that darkness. We saw what we could become. And we chose a different path. Not because we were weak, but because we were strong enough to change. Khan looked directly at the Dominion representatives. You bombed our worlds and expected us to die. Instead, you reminded us why we chose peace in the first place. Because we knew, better than anyone, what we were capable of. Because we knew the monsters that lived inside us. He took a breath. We unleashed those monsters to survive. And then we put them away again. Because that is what makes us human. Not the ability to destroy. The ability to choose not to destroy. He finished with words that would be remembered for centuries. Let this be the last lesson. Humanity teaches the galaxy through blood. The years passed. Admiral Park retired to a small station orbiting the ruins of New Seoul. He planted a garden in a dome that looked down on the world where his daughter had died. He grew flowers that Hyman had loved. He tended them every day until his death at age 93. Commander Yoon Hana took command of the Horizon's Edge. It became the flagship of a new peacekeeping fleet. She patrolled the borders between old enemies and stopped 3 wars before they could begin. She never forgot what war cost. She made sure no one else forgot either. Captain Beak Myray and her ghost fleet returned to the shadows. They still watched. They still waited. But now they protected everyone, not just humans. Myray said once that the greatest victory is the war that never happens. She spent the rest of her life making sure wars did not happen. General O Taiwan built a military academy on a neutral world. Human officers trained alongside Rithani officers. Former enemies learned to fight together instead of against each other. O taught every student the same lesson. Strength means nothing without honor. Jiang Soyan returned to engineering. She designed the first new buildings on New Seoul. Her first project was a children's hospital. She named it after her daughter. She worked until she was 70 years old, then retired to a small house near the hospital. She could hear children playing from her window. It helped her sleep. Director Shin Yoonji wrote a secret report about the war. Everything humanity had done. Everything they had almost done. Everything they had chosen not to do. The report was sealed for 500 years. When future generations opened it, they would understand the price of the victory their ancestors had won. On a distant world, a young alien girl sat in a classroom. Her teacher was explaining galactic history. The lesson was about the human war. The girl raised her hand. "Teacher," she asked, "why do the humans not rule the galaxy? They won the war. They have the biggest weapons. They could make everyone obey them." The teacher thought for a moment. Because the strongest power is not the ability to destroy, she said. It is the choice not to. Humans understand this. They learned it the hard way, through centuries of suffering. And that is why the galaxy follows them now. Not because we fear their weapons, but because we trust their wisdom. The girl nodded slowly. She did not fully understand. She was young, but one day she would. And she would teach her own children the same lesson. That was humanity's true power. Not the bombs they could build. Not the ships they could fly. Not the enemies they could defeat. But the simple, difficult, world-changing choice to be better than they had to be. The war was over. The lesson remained. And the